Why are the prices of silver and copper rising from 2020 till 2025? Why is there one country dominant in the production and supply chain of these precious metals, which now are becoming critical minerals? Whether you talk about lithium, cobalt, nickel, or now in the race is silver and copper. These are not just facts, but the future which will shape electric vehicles. This EV sector is main and the backbone for energy transition. Not only that, but yes, it is seen as a panacea for discussing the climate change solutions. Now, the problems of climate change do find their solution in electric vehicles and decarbonization of mobility. Once you understand this, तो हमें यह भी समझना पड़ेगा कि ये जो प्राइस राइज हो रहा है इसके पीछे एक्चुअल इकोनॉमिक्स और इसके साथ साथ क्लाइमेट और इकोलॉजी कैसे लिंक्ड है. The way we understand donut economy or the way we understand wholesome economy, whole economic concept, that is what we will be discussing in this video. Along with this, we will also discuss कि चाइना अपना मोनोपोली कैसे बना के रखा हुआ है. I welcome you all to SRIRAM's IES, and in this video we will be discussing all what I said in the introduction. This sector of electronic vehicles, which is seen as a medium of decarbonization, now we are seeing that there is a rise in the prices of silver. It has crossed 3 lakh mark. There is high deficit in the production of copper. Now, production of copper and silver itself has a challenge. The way gold had its challenge, because mining of gold, production of gold was limited. That is why we shifted to paper currency. However, here we cannot do that. We need these metals for production of semiconductor chips, for production of electric vehicles, batteries, conductors. Now, once we know that the demand is more, you must understand what all lies when we exemplify or when we examine the entire topic. Before we start the discussion, I just want to highlight that we at SRIRAM's IES provide you with right mentors. These right mentors help you to strategize your preparation better. In order to get yourself a free one-on-one mentorship, what you need to do is just do one thing. Either you scan this QR code or you go and in the description section, there is a Google form link. Fill that link and get yourself a good mentor who will help you for your preparation. Now, let's start the discussion, because as we know that these precious metals are now becoming more critical for our future needs. What are our future needs? First of all, it is electric vehicles. Electric vehicles are driving the unprecedented demand for industrial metal. Now, what are these industrial metals? ये वो metals होते हैं जो हमें इंडस्ट्री में यूज होते हैं. जैसे एक सिंपल सा मेटल है हमारे पास सिल्वर, जिसका प्राइस अभी बढ़ रहा है, 3 लाख से ऊपर चला गया प्राइस. बट ये सिल्वर का प्राइस इतना बढ़ गया है और हमें ये समझना है दैट ये प्राइस बढ़ते बढ़ते हमें इंडस्ट्री में क्या काम है सिल्वर का. इंडस्ट्री में काम ये है, ये बैटरी प्रोडक्शन में, इलेक्ट्रॉनिक व्हीकल्स में, सेमीकंडक्टर चिप्स में, इवन नॉट ओनली इन दैट सर्किट बोर्ड्स में और चार्जिंग सिस्टम्स में यूज होता है. रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी में सोलर एंड विंड एनर्जी को लेके ये यूज होता है. हर एक सोलर पैनल के ऊपर सिल्वर कोटिंग होती है. सेमीकंडक्टर्स में यूज होता है. मेटल्स आर नो लॉन्गर ऑप्शनल इनपुट्स बट दे आर कोर इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर फॉर decarbonization. Understood? They are the main requirement for decarbonization of our climate. We also need to remember that electric vehicles are on the boom. And once you understand that we need electric vehicles, so what are the components which are needed in electric vehicles? It is copper. But what is hidden in copper is that electric vehicles have shifted to a niche product and a fastest growing industrial sector. If you remember or if you see, electric vehicles sales in 2017 or 2015 were just 0.55 million units which were sold. But this increased to 20 million in 2025. Also, along with this, the use of copper in these vehicles has also increased to 1.28 million. And along with this, From 2015, this use has increased to 1.28 million tons. Once you understand this, you should remember that electric vehicles require 4 to 5 times more copper than the internal combustion engines. So that is why the criticality of this critical mineral now comes into question. Along with copper, silver is also making its rally. Silver is also used in the industrial application. As you know, silver, around 111 milligrams of silver are used on an average on each solar cell. Silver is also used in automotive sector and electric vehicles. Silver is used for high conductivity, high ductility and more efficient. It establishes or it makes the electric vehicles lightweight, and these batteries use around 25 to 50 grams of silver per vehicle. So that is where the demand of silver and copper comes in. Once there is more industrial demand, because all of the silver which is being produced and all of the demand in market of silver, 55 to 65% of the demand is only because of industrial use. Now both silver and copper are on high demand, but production is less, which creates a deficit. But why is there a deficit? What is the underlying cause of the deficit? Is first underinvestment. People are not investing in these metals. Declining of the ore grades because they are limited in nature. In our India also, or in the earth, these metals are limited in their reserves. Long developmental cycle because it takes a long time to develop these minerals, around 10 to 15 years for the ore to develop. Even regulatory resistance is there. There are high environmental and regulatory challenges, legal challenges, which make the production and mining very much difficult. Along with this, we also need to remember that there is a near perfect lockup. What do I mean by this is that the elasticity of electric vehicles and copper, electric vehicles and these metals is around 1:1. That means the more electric vehicles are produced, the more demand for the copper is there, which resembles that the copper demand in 2016 was just 39,000 tons and it has increased to over 1.1 million tons. While as the sales of electric vehicles have increased from 0.7 million tons to 17 million tons. Now once you understand this, that there is an equal, or I would say an elasticity of 1.0 or elasticity of 1. Elasticity is that the correlation between the two. That how much elastic, do you remember that in the basic economics we read about price elasticity of demand? That is what comes in here. Also, now this elasticity has peaked in 2019, where on every electric vehicle the demand of copper was 1.76. Understood? This elasticity increased to 1.76. But now this makes the globe or the world to enter a phase where there is high deficit in the supply of copper. Why is there high deficit? First, in 2024, the supply of copper was more than the demand, while as in 2026, the demand will be more than the supply, and there will be a projected nearly 8 million tons of deficit in demand and supply. That means 8 million tons of demand will be there, which might not be fulfilled by the current levels of production. Understood? So this shortage is, or the numbers here are basically on the 10 largest copper mines of the world. Understood? Now one more thing is that this sector is also related to, or this has its another dimension in economics and climate, because electric vehicles are sought after. The production is expensive because of rising copper scarcity. Infrastructure delays are there because charging networks also roll out, are also slowing because there is very less growth in the charging infrastructure. That comes along with own of its challenges. Copper scarcity may become the primary bottleneck for the electrification of these, and not only charging systems but also for the production of electric vehicles, Now, once you understand that copper is now a bottleneck, along with this, silver and other precious metals were also there, and the critical minerals, even rare earth magnets. Now, who controls them? Who has the power to control all of it? It is, if you see the demand of copper or the EV driven copper demand, that is when EVs are using copper, and that is why we are demanding it, or that is why there is a demand. Geographically, it is concentrated in China. China has 60% of the global EV copper consumption. Global EV copper consumption means कि China जो ये copper consume कर रहा है वो अपने EVs में use कर रहा है. Understood? Second, China controls around 70% of battery cell production of the globe. So that is where China's power comes in, because it is the future technology, and if you are controlling the technology, once it was said that whosoever controls the navy, whosoever controls the ocean, in the Mahan and Mackinder debate of international relations, we do discuss this thing, that whosoever controls the navy or whosoever controls the water controls the world. But now today it is what? Whosoever controls the future technology has a better bargaining power. Thereby, China's copper demand growth has increased, and it is increasing day by day. Understood? While as when you talk about India, our copper demand is just 7,200 tons, which means that where do we actually lie in this zone of, I would say, development or growth. This means that these metals, not only copper and silver, but also all the other metals, will decide the pace of electric vehicles, that how much faster are we developing in this sector, how much faster is this sector being developed. That will be decided by these metals. Now these metals will also decide that it is not just that we will हमने ये सोच लिया कि हम जो है हमारा एम्बिशन है कि हम टोटली 2070 तक जीरो आई वुड से नेट एमिशंस करेंगे और नेट जीरो टारगेट है हमारा 2070, ये हमारा एम्बिशन है. बट एक्चुअल में ये कंट्रोल कौन करेगा इस एम्बिशन को? इट इज जियोलॉजी. दैट इज कि आप कितना ज़्यादा माइन कर रहे हो, आपके पास कितना ज़्यादा प्रोडक्ट है, आपके पास कितना ज़्यादा मेटल स्ट्रेंथ है, वही डिसाइड करेगा इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल्स को. Also, copper can become the artery of electrification, because copper is something which is highly sought after in the, I would say, green energy and energy transition particularly. What are the actions which are required? First, we need an action on supply, that we need to ensure that we have enough supply. Second, recycling of used copper and innovation, so that we can do good on, I would say, energy transition or clean energy transition. Clear? Now last, what are the key takeaways from this discussion? It is first about silver, that silver's price, silver का प्राइस जो है वो 3 लाख क्रॉस कर गया है, एंड इसका यूज कहाँ पे? मार्केट में और मेटल मार्केट में, और उसके साथ साथ इंडस्ट्रीज में इसका यूज. सेकंड, कॉपर का क्राइसिस है, कॉपर का डेफिसिट होने वाला है 2030 तक 8 मिलियन टन, जो कि हमने यूज बोल दिया अभी. There is a hidden cost of electric vehicles boom. One more thing, that is there is resource reality or resource scarcity, which is the basic question of economics. जब हम economics start ही करते हैं पढ़ना, तो उस टाइम पे ही हम ये पहला question discuss करते हैं, that there is scarcity and there are limited resources. And economics talks about efficient use of resource management or limited resources. So what we need is, we need something beyond innovation. What is beyond innovation? That not only batteries and technology, but also strategic resource management, that how we will procure these resources, how will we use them, and how will we as India, being one of the global leaders, will emerge with this future technology. I wish you all the best for being into this discussion. I thank you all for that. And at the last, I would say that if you have any questions regarding your preparation and UPSC, you're most welcome at SRIRAM IAS. Come and let us be part of your success. Jai Hind.